Well, hello and welcome to our wonderful service this morning. Can you all hear me all right? Yes. Okay, fabulous. We are the Rogue Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. That's a mouthful, so oftentimes we say ROOF here in Ashland, Oregon. I'm just curious, how many of you have a personal connection to Ukraine? If you wouldn't mind just raising your hand. Okay, that's wonderful. Glad to see that. Thank you. My name is Louise Paré. I have a personal connection to Ukraine and to this service. My mother, Pauline Leshak Paré, was Ukrainian, and she shared her traditions with our family as I was growing up. In 1997, I visited central Ukraine for 2 weeks doing research on Ukrainian feminism and women's spirituality. And I'll share more about that during our sharing time. Fonda.
My name is Fonda Bender. I have a strong connection with Ukraine. My father, Mike Krupnik, was born in Letichev. During World War II, the Nazis invaded Ukraine. As they passed through Letichev, they lined up all the Jews in the town, including my dad's remaining relatives, forcing them to dig their own mass graves, shot them all, and buried them. Most of my ancestors are buried in the Ukraine.
We are so happy to welcome you to our service, both online and in person. We want to especially thank the members of this Dream Stream team who are helping make the online service happen, and the members of the neighborhood team who welcome the on-site congregation. And I really want to give a special shout out to Francie this morning for creating this beautiful space. Thank you.
If you are a newcomer, we invite you to sign up for our mailing list on rvuuf.org. You will receive a weekly email that gives you all the information you need to make your decision about whether you'd like to join us on Sunday morning on site or online. You will also learn about other great things going on at ROOF. We are so glad that you're with us for this service, and we invite you to join us in our mission, embracing diversity, empowering connection, and engaging in the work.
We begin each service by acknowledging that our building is built on land that began as the home of the Cow Creek Umpqua, Tequilma, Shasta, and Latgawa peoples. We remind ourselves that Indigenous peoples are part of our communities and continue to experience the effects of colonization. We are committed to fighting for the worth and dignity of Indigenous peoples, both in our community and around the world. These services are part of that work. Welcome and thank you for being with us. And now I'd like you to hear about a special event coming up for our congregation. Jim?
Thank you. I'm Jim Meckel. I'm going to be the president of the board starting next Saturday. But who's counting? Next Friday, we have what we're calling a spaghetti feast. It is a fundraiser, a fellowship raiser, and a fund raiser. Friday night, the 30th at 6:30, right here in the Great Hall. We're asking for a donation of $20 each, or if a family with kids, $25 for the whole family. Now, let's not get too big a family, but no, in any case, it should be fun. I've asked if anybody is coming and wants a particular song played, let me know, and I'll find it on the computer. Apple Music has been absolutely fabulous. So let's all have a good evening Friday. Also want to say thank you for such a magnificent response to my plea for donations and pledging. We still have a ways to go, but I'm proud to be part of this community because you really did come forward. Thank you.
We light our chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism, with words by Melanie Davis. If ever there was a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice. So we do light the candle. Yeah, we do too.
Our opening song this morning is number 347. Oh, this is new. It works, huh? Wow. Please rise as you're comfortable and let's sing Gather the Spirit.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Francie Parr, and with me today is my husband, Bill Parr. And we're lighting the candle, the anti-racist candle. We are here this morning as members of the anti-racism study group here at ROOF. We light our candle this morning to remind us of our deep commitment to acknowledging conscious and unconscious bias that is embedded deep within our culture and continues to threaten racial justice for all people. I am a member of this group because I am curious about my own unconscious biases and want to learn and understand how I can free myself from their chains. I want to learn how to name implicit cultural bias without placing blame, guilt, or shame on anyone. I want to learn and grow into a strong and confident ally to all marginalized peoples. Our Roof Anti-Racist Group helps me do these things and more. I invite you to join me and the other Roofians in this very important work. Thank you, and have a great day.
It has become our practice to light a candle each week for peace. We take this moment to call in mind our commitment to peace in mind, peace in our homes, peace in our communities, peace in the world, and today, peace in Ukraine.
Today's words are from a prayer to the Ukrainian goddess Berehinya, who is believed to be the source of life and death. This is the prayer. Who wants war and division? While chaos unravels the fabric of the universe, we pause and light a candle to Goddess Berehinya for her people, for the hearth in all of us, for the hearth in the earth, and ask for protection and unity.
In light of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, women from Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus have come to the forefront to fight against lies and propaganda about the war. Women have created solidarity groups and a huge resistance movement against the war. A panel of women considered how women from Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus are able to unite and to struggle for peace, what resources are lacking, what the press hasn't shown, and what help is demanded by the women's anti-war movement.
One woman on the panel, Maria Mentosova, made this statement. The war in Ukraine has been and will be catastrophic for women and girls across the region. Accounts are horrific, and despite the profound pain and conflict that this conflict has caused, we in the region are coming together in solidarity. And this is both at a personal level and an organizational level. She says, I want this war to be over. I want all of us to rebuild our societies. We are a force that can do that. We will do that. We are doing that.
Our next song is in your teal hymnal, number 1026. Please rise as you're comfortable. This peace, if every woman in the world portrays a powerful dream of planetary peace that begins inside the heart of every person who sings it. This message reflects the composer's strong belief in the power of women to influence global culture and bring peace to the world. There is deep expression in this song, and women all over the world have responded by passing it on from woman to woman, country to country. It was sung in the 1985 International Women's Conference in Nairobi, as well as retreats and gatherings throughout Canada and the United States. The song's current form you see here incorporates 3 new verses written especially for inclusion in this hymnal. The most important thing, according to the composer, when singing this song is to do so with gusto. So let it roll. 10:26.
The panic moment when you think you've left the words to the sermon home on your desk. It's not the same. It's not that. Good morning again. As we gather this morning, the war in Ukraine, which started on February 24th, 2002, continues. Today is day number 486. Since the war began, several million Ukrainians have been displaced. Too many people have died. And close to 50 Ukrainian refugees in 15 different families have come to the Rogue Valley to create new lives in our community. I want to say that again. 50 Ukrainian refugees in 15 families have come to the Rogue Valley to create new lives in our community. This morning, I will talk about who these Ukrainian refugees are, our relationship with them as Unitarian Universalist in the context of this war, and how we might imagine expressing that relationship in practical and supportive ways. First, a little about me. I was born in 1949, yay 49ers, and raised on a 6-acre self-sustaining organic farm 10 miles outside of Grants Pass. I'm the oldest of 8 children. This was our barn, where I learned to milk cows. My mother, Pauline Leshock, was Ukrainian. My father, Gerard Paré, was French-Canadian. During those times, Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. We called it the USSR. Mama would say, we're Ukrainian, we're not Russian. As a child, I didn't understand why that difference was important to her. We celebrated Christmas twice. No, we didn't get double presents. Once on December 25th and once on January 7th. Papa called January 7th Mama's Little Christmas. She made special foods and breads from her Ukrainian culture and shared stories from her childhood about Ukrainian Christmas customs. For Mama, Easter was more important celebration than Christmas. She would say, regeneration of life is more important than getting born. My mother knit that shawl. It's called the Oregon shawl because the design was created by a teacher in Oregon. And around the edges, it has salmon and trees and the ocean. It's an incredible work of art. Thank you, Mama. These experiences planted seeds of curiosity in me about my Ukrainian heritage. In 1997, I visited central Ukraine with the support of a friend, Catherine Held, who formed an organization in Santa Rosa, California called UWAP, Ukrainian and American Women's Action Project. It was an outgrowth of their sister city connections. I was doing doctoral research on contemporary Ukrainian feminism and women's spirituality. Catherine arranged a homestay with a family in Cherkasy. Lesa and I have still continued to be in contact. One of her daughters had to flee to Poland with her young son. The city of Cherkasy is almost 300,000 people, and then she also arranged a homestay for me in Kyiv. I visited small villages south of Cherkasy. I swam in the Dnipro River and had eye contact with a green poisonous snake. I met women healers and artists and stood on a kurgan, which is an ancient burial mound from the Trypillian civilization. What's the Trypillian civilization, you may ask? Well, the Trypillian civilization is one of 2 matrilineal civilizations which sourced Ukraine. It lasted almost 4,000 years, from roughly 5,500 BCE to 2750 BCE. It is one of the best explored and richest cultures of old Europe. Both civilizations had a social order in which women played a central role as head of clans. This social order was characterized by a non-patriarchal social system whose guiding values were mutual respect, cooperation, self-determination, and interconnectedness between men, women, and all forms of life. It was not utopia, but they solved their problems without warfare. I believe it is the energy of these ancient civilizations, flowing in the somatic memory of contemporary Ukrainians, which continues to drive their ongoing hunger for freedom and self-determination. Standing on the kurgan, I felt a charge of energy go through my body from deep within that Ukrainian soil through the top of my head into the blue sky above us. I experienced that the power of that land and its people flowed in me. I began to sing my chant song, Moving Between the Worlds, which I'd shared with my sponsoring friends Victoria Kuzminia and her husband John Masura during our 5-hour drive from Kyiv to Cherkasy. Some of you know this song, and I invite you to sing it with me as we move between the worlds of Cherkasy and Ashland while seeing the faces of my friends at the Cherkasy Women's Center, which today provides activities addressing the needs of refugees coming from Eastern Ukraine. Moving, moving, moving between the worlds, you got it. Moving, moving, moving between the worlds. We bring forth all things from within her body. She She brings forth all things from within her body. Let it grow. Moving, moving, moving between the worlds. Moving, moving, moving between the worlds. He brings forth all things from within his body. Got it now. He brings forth all things from within his body. We, moving, moving, moving between the worlds. Moving, moving, moving between the worlds. We bring forth all things from within our bodies. Things from within our bodies. Yeah. That night, last night, on the table there was vodka, there was brandy, there was every wine, there was every imaginable thing because none of us wanted to leave. It was a hard leaving. And so when I reconnected with Lisa, during our phone call, she said, oh, I'm getting the signal. I have to go downstairs and sit against the wall. So like we have our, what's the thing that tells us about fires? Nexel. Yeah, the alert system. They have something like that so that whenever there's a possible bombing 80 miles within that district, they get that signal. So she hung up the phone, she went downstairs, we got back together, and she continued talking. And that brought it so close to me because I'd been in her home. I'd been down to that basement before. 4 months after the war began, in May 2022, Uniting for Ukraine Rogue Valley was born. It has raised funds to sponsor many Ukrainian families that now live in Ashland, Talent, and Central Point. Last fall, I began teaching a Zoom OLLI course titled Exploring Ukrainian Culture Through the Lives of Women, open to men and women. It will be offered again in the fall. Little plug. While preparing my class, I met several Ukrainian refugee women who agreed to share their stories with my class. One of those women, Dr. Hanna Yakubovska from Kharkiv, who is with us this morning, and she's brought some of her friends, Tatiana Poda and Olga, and Arina and Anna Hanna are all from, Hanna is from Mariupol, the other three are from Kherson. I'm so glad that you were able to join us this morning. They will be here for coffee hour afterwards and after the service. Kharkiv is the second largest city in Ukraine, which I'll remind us is the second largest landmass in Europe. Just to take that in. A place that probably many of us really didn't know much about before all of this started. Kharkiv is located about 26 miles from the Russian border. Founded in 1654, it became a major international center of industry, trade, and the Ukrainian culture with numerous museums, theaters, libraries, and hundreds of industrial families. Hanna was born in 1981 while Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. She has a PhD in physical chemistry, so you could call her Dr. Hanna when you meet her. And she was a senior researcher at the Institute for Scintillation Materials, an international research organization working in the area of radiation detection. And I hope that brings to mind for you Chernobyl. She also worked for Fabula Publishing House as an English-Ukrainian translator of nonfiction literature on information technology and management. Presently, Hanna is working at the Clark R. Bavin National Fish and Wildlife Forensics Laboratory in Ashland. The video clip that we're going to see now was recorded during my OLLI class. In this clip, Hanna is describing her experience of the day the war began and her escape from Kharkiv with her 14-year-old son, Mikita. At that time, her husband, Kaya, was in Turkey, recovering from back surgery, and her father was not able to leave because he was ill. So I ask you to keep your feet grounded and stay close to your breath. This is a very powerful witness and sharing.
First I hear these terrible sounds and red sky. I turn off TV but nothing. All of us thought what Zelensky ran away because USA proposed him to run away with his family, but thanks God, this is really best president of Ukraine, Zelensky. He didn't run away, and he give us, hope. So. First thing what I realized, what we should buy drinking water. But all our neighbors who stay at that time in house, we have 5-story house, and around a lot of high buildings, not like in Ashland. Big buildings, and everyone took bottles for buying drinking water. It was first in mind because tap water contains chlorine, and it's not good to drink it. But water finished very quickly. So neighbors who had cars, they escaped from Kharkiv. They ran away to Poltava, Kiev, I don't know where, to western part of Ukraine. But our family, we haven't car, so we stayed at our house, and we spent 10 days. So during all the days in basement, dirty basement, and then I realized what in city we have no police, because I saw, spy neighbor house. He put sign for jet. They bomb it usually in the night, and they look for this sign by lighting,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I tried to find someone from police, but it was unsuccessful. And I asked by the way, my father he had disease, he had first surgery in the end of August 2021, and then he was forced by management in his institute to make COVID vaccination. He made first COVID vaccination, it was okay, but then they asked him 2 weeks to make second Pfizer COVID vaccination, and he became sick. And he got COVID, and then they diagnosed it, and his analysis, Klebsiella pneumoniae. It was in kidney.
Oh, wow. Wow.
He had, before war, he had like 10 courses of antibiotics, nothing helped. And doctor said you should order in Mechnikov's Institute special vaccine. So my father paid money. His retirement payments, $50. He paid all his retirement payments.
Is that $50 a month?
Yeah, per month.
Whoa.
Yeah. Usually our people have maybe 70% of retired people has such level payments per month. So actually that's why I worked on several places at the same time. My salary in institute was $300 per month. I was senior researcher, and I was translator and I was tutor at the same time. I had no actually vacation days or weekends. I never had it. I always worked.
Wow.
And when I was in Turkey on vacation, I was always with my with my computer.
Oh, yeah. Working online. Yeah.
So he paid his retirement payments to institute. They promised to prepare this vaccine during 1 week, but they didn't prepare it during 2 weeks. And war started. He called them. They said, "Sorry, wait. Then war finished. Then war will over." He was in bad condition, and every morning we were looking for antibiotics in available pharmacy stores. You know, it was terrible time for sure there was no antibiotics, and we asked our neighbor. I thought they took him to battlefield, but he was in Kharkiv, and our neighbors in our house. He was doctor, urologist, and he said, if you have possibility, go out from Kharkiv. I will take care about your father. We have medicine, and I have possibility to make even surgery if it would be needed.
So your father is still in Kharkiv.
Yes, he stayed in Kharkiv. He didn't want to escape with us because at first day it was impossible to get into train because in Kharkiv we had a big community of China people, of Azerbaijan, Armenian people. They all wanted to escape. We were international city, and we had one of the biggest bazaar in Europe, like city in the city. So these men, they actually all men, not only foreigners, they tried to not to let women with children go in train. They took them back, and some of them had knives, and I saw in news what they doing, and everybody afraid to go there. And we stayed in Kharkiv 10 days during war, and I was looking for transportation, for car, for somebody who can take us to train station.
Yeah.
And I found friends of friends, still had gasoline, because at that time 1 liter of gasoline cost $10, and the Russian bombed all possible stocks of gasoline, and it was miracle what he had. He still had gasoline, and he said, if they will not bomb at 8 in the morning, I will take you to train. It was 15 kilometers, and we had underground, but underground doesn't work as transportation. They were closed for transportation only. They work like shelter for local people.
Okay, yeah.
It was forbidden to walk underground. And my relative, she has 3 children. And they walk on underground, but it was danger. Just 3 days before our escaping. And she said, don't do this because they forbid it. So I took my colleague with her two children's. Then on the way to train station, and we came to train station. It was he couldn't park near train station because train station was surrounded by a lot of cars. People to train station, they leave car and go out. So we say we give some money to this man. He said no, I don't want. I said if you will find gasoline, you will have possibility to help someone else. Still working he's still working like volunteer in Kharkiv. So when we came to train station, there was a lot of people, but on platform there was no people because just 15 minutes before our arriving, Russians bombed train station, and a lot of people ran away who had possibility, but we had no such possibility. And we stayed there, and we didn't know it will be train or no. Nobody knows nothing. And 1 hour later, they gave train. And in every door was a man from army service with gun. And he, because after first day of house, our government decided for safety of people, they put this army men's with gun to protect women with children. And by the way, it was forbidden for men to leave, to go out from Kharkiv for men from 18 until 65 years old. Forbidden because they should be on army register. So we got into train and we didn't know where we will go. And there was curtains on windows, and train was full, like 150%. There was no place for normal sitting or something else. People took animals, children, everyone, old parents, and it was a full train. And later they said what we will go to Lviv. And it was scary. And I met in this train a woman from Severная Saltovka. It's part of Kharkiv. There 500,000 people was. And she said, we were on the bombing, on the attack every minute.
Oh, wow.
10 days without food, without water, drinking water. They took water from heating system. It was not good. And only one, she said only one time volunteer bring us hot water, hot drinking water. She said it was like unexpected, like surprise, because for example, there was in basement woman with dog, and she get out only for 1 minute with dog to make toilet,
Yeah.
in the toilet. And they was shooting by missile.
Oh, wow.
And she escaped with her daughter. She said, I tried to find a taxi or something like that. It's near 10 kilometers to train. And it's not far, but one taxi driver, he said, if you will pay $3,000, I will bring you to this train station. So she said it was miracle what I found man who had he passed near home
Yeah.
20 stairs home, by the way. A lot of people were there, and she said our neighbors who had cars, they escaped at first day, and she stayed in basement 10 days because she had no car.
Oh, wow.
She saw that man, he was looking for his relatives, and she asked him to take her and her daughter and cat, and he took them to train station. And they all what they have at that time when I met her, she had a bottle with water, tap water.
Wow.
2 candles and a small pack with stuffs and no food, and I shared with her my food and water, and yeah, it was terrible. And I took her to Netherlands. My husband found volunteers in Netherlands. They helped us with food, and they helped us to find this camp for refugee. And
Hannah's story is the story of one Ukrainian woman and her family's experience of this war. Her story is wrapped in courage, trauma, resilience, and hope. Each of our new Ukrainian refugee neighbors, whose faces you will see shortly, has their own story, wrapped in courage, trauma, resilience, and hope. I invite you just to take a few deep breaths and feel where your feet are. Feel your fingers. The interconnected web of life connects us with our Ukrainian neighbors far and near. As Unitarian Universalist, we are encouraged by the statement of our UUA President, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, to imagine how we might join in solidarity with the people of Ukraine. Shortly after the war began, she wrote these words: "We continue to join in solidarity with so many around the world and pray for the people of Ukraine. Our UU faith calls us to remain committed to justice, and we believe we have a moral responsibility to support the creation of peace and the equal rights of all people. As we view the faces of the Ukrainian refugee families living in our community, let us, Rufians, imagine how we can play a significant role in providing practical support for these families and others who may come in future months." 3 other faith communities in Ashland, First United Methodist, First Presbyterian Church of Ashland, and Havara Shir Hadash, are currently playing an active role as sponsors and host families. So put on your imagination cap with me for a moment. Imagine Roof becoming a sponsoring faith community. Imagine a Roof family hosting a Ukrainian refugee family. Imagine Ruth supporting Uniting for Ukraine Rogue Valley with a monthly donation. Imagine becoming involved with a newly formed sister city partnership with Svatogorsk, Ukraine, which the Ashland City Council approved last Tuesday. We now have a new sister city in Ukraine. And on the back table where the flowers are, I brought the article from the Ashland News, so if you haven't seen it, it's there. And if you're interested in partnering with that, they just had their second meeting on yesterday. Hannah invited me to come. And so there's a place for you to put your name and contact information, and if there are any skills you feel you'd like to bring to that enterprise. Uniting for Ukraine can be contacted through their website. It's easy to access for more information. It's empowering, I think, to know that we are the ones who can imagine practical ways to express our solidarity with the people of Ukraine living in our Rogue Valley. It's empowering to know that our Unitarian Universalist faith can energize what we imagine. And it is empowering to know that the interconnected web of life, which we are a part of, will support us in making real what we imagine. May it be so. It is so.
Each week, we take an offering to support the mission and work of this congregation. Since the pandemic, your generosity has been nearly the only source of financial support for programs, services, outreach, and staffing of our congregation. Your giving is immediately put to work putting our principles into action in our community and beyond. If you are joining us online, you can mail your gift to 87 4th Street, Ashland, Oregon, 97520. To give online, go to tinyurl.com, RVUUFOFFERING, roof offering, and follow the instructions there. To give by text, simply text $sign and the amount you'd like to donate, 541-299-4229. And if you need support, please contact Reverend Sean using the form on roof.org. We will do our best to help. for these gifts and all the gifts you bring to our community and into this world. Thank you.
Oops, need the book. Please join me, stand as you're comfortable, and join me in singing 131, Love Will Guide Us. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us, will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
I'd like to invite Hannah to come up with me. So I was very grateful to you for being here today and for sharing your story with us. And I was also grateful how the universe and the UUA worship web can provide you with things that you need. And that's where I found this peacemaking prayer by Eric Cherry, who is the director of the UUA's international office since 2007. So we're going to do a little side-by-side with this.
Nice to meet you. The history is complex and the politics are intense. The fear and anger are overwhelming and the future is unclear. But glimpses of the hopeful vision will not be bombed into oblivion by anyone.
In prayer, we call to mind the peacemakers, neighbors of differing faiths with different histories, with different politics, with different emotions, who find room for each other in their hearts, in their dreams, and in our lives. And if we can all say the final piece of that. Those who hold firmly to a vision of peace and justice anywhere in the world, but especially today in Ukraine. Spirit of life and love, be present with all who are suffering terribly from the violence in Ukraine. Lift up the hearts of those who fear, inspire courage among the peacemakers.
Be present with political leaders, ensuring a retreat from violence and procession towards the peace table. Guide the hands of all those who are caring for the injured, the hungry, and grieving.
Open our hearts to compassion. Remind us of our complicity and responsibility. Lead us toward generous engagement and move us always toward a vision of peace. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. All the candles are out so the fire can burn within us. I invite you to stand and join hands. Oh.